morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to Exceptional Women with Grit, where we interview dynamic women around the world who all have one thing in common: grit. So come on in, grab your friend, grab a beverage, grab some food. We have another dynamic woman on tonight. So we are so excited to have you on. Hey Lee, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Charelle. How are you?
I am fantastic, super excited to be back on, spinning in the big chair,
Yes,
having a good time.
yes. That's
How's
all good.
everything your way? You guys settling down for the end of the year?
Yeah, we're coming down to the end of the year for school. I think my 9-year-old said he only has a week left or something like that.
He is counting
Not
down.
that not that he's counting down, right?
Trust me,
Yeah,
mine was telling me a week ago. He's like, "Mom, do I really have to go? We're done with testing. We're kind of just sitting around." I'm like, yes, you do. Yes.
yes. I
In
need you gone.
fact, yes, I need you to take something and learn something and bring something, right?
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Matter of fact, we have the house is full. The two college kids are here. The three little ones are here. My dad's here, and of course Val and I are here. So we have a full house right now,
That's fantastic.
at least for the next couple of weeks. And then the 19-year-old's got to head back to school for football practice for the summer. So, but right
That's
now we're having a great time.
That's exciting. Oh my goodness. See, I don't have that quite that full of a house. In fact, I'm going to full houses, right? So we'll be
Right.
taking vacation in about 2 weeks' time just to kind of step away from the day to day and really enjoy life, right?
Okay, understood. Like I said, we got back from Italy a couple weeks ago. I guess it's been
That's right.
shoot week and a half ago now. So
That's right.
that was an amazing trip. We just had a wonderful time. Just Val and I, no kids, good
Good.
time to recharge and kind of see more of the world. I tell you what, people, you got to get out and see the world. Don't stay at home.
That's right.
Um, there's so much out there, so many different. The cool thing is, I love hearing all the different accents and languages all at the same time. So that's like real fun for me. I don't
Different
know why.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
So what did you do? Did you do anything for Valerie or Mom for Mother's Day? We literally just wrapped it.
Mother's Day we had a great. Well, I think we had a great Mother's Day. I didn't get served with any papers today, so on Monday.
That's a good measure, right? I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, we had a good time. So Mount Zion, where we attend church, we started where I attend church. We started a 7 a.m. service in Brentwood, so we did that one. We did that together, and then she went to her church, which is First Baptist Capitol Hill, and then I went to the 9:30 service because I help with the finance ministry over there, and then we got together and. Went to Waffle House, which is kind of what the little kids wanted to do for their mom. So we went to Waffle House and ate. We thought we were going to come home and cook again, and we were so full we couldn't eat anything else. So
It's the simple things, it's the
it's a simple
time
thing.
spent, it's just the simple things. So
Yes,
I'm
yes,
excited
indeed.
about, we had a good
Yeah. How
time.
about how was your Mother's Day?
I had
Happy
a
Mother.
great Mother's Day. Thank you. Thank you so much. I had a great Mother's Day. We went to service here in Atlanta, and then we went to a brunch. My son took me to brunch, and it was
Okay.
kind of over a skyrise. We had live music, so it was nice,
Okay.
And then
Cool.
after that, I did absolutely nothing, and it was
There
great.
you go.
It was
There
great,
you go.
you know.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. It's people don't have enough days where they just do nothing.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you guys didn't come on here to hear us chit chat, right? You came on here to hear from our exceptional guests. So again, thank you all for coming in. Feel free to hit that like or share button up on in the corner of your screen. That way you can follow us and keep up with all of these amazing guests that we bring on. And as you all know, we'd love to say hello to you. So feel free to leave your name, city, and state that you are joining in from, or the country, right? We've had people join from around the world, so feel free to do
Yes.
so in the chat function, as we would love to say.
Whoops.
And we'll go ahead and tell you a little bit more about our guests. I'm going to let Lee handle that over there. while we bring up
And
our
before you
guests.
go, hey, make sure you tell your friends if they're not on Facebook, check us out on the YouTube Women with Grit YouTube channel, or then go to our website www.womenwithgrit.com,
Right.
and so that they can hear from our incredible guest today. I'll be right back.
We'll let Lee handle that while I bring up our guest, right? So tonight we have on Miss Sharon Hurt, and she is a council member at large and a candidate for mayor of Nashville, Tennessee. As council member, Sharon is the chair of the Public Facilities, Art, and Culture Committee, past chair of the Conventions and Tourism Committee, and past chair of the Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee. She sits or has sat on the Budget and Finance, Transportation, Planning, and Education Committees. She is also a council representative on the Metro Audit Committee. When Sharon ran for re-election for council member at large in 2019, she was the top vote getter. Outside of the council, Sharon has been a leader on 2 nonprofit organizations and has an undergraduate degree from Tennessee State University and a graduate degree from Belmont University. Sharon was the most recent president of the National Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials. Sharon is a member of the Downtown Rotary Club, past president of the Bellevue Exchange Club, past president of the Nashville Women's Business Club, and numerous others. She lives in Bellevue with her husband, Lovey, and they have 3 daughters and 3 grandchildren. We introduce to you all Miss Sharon Hurt. Good evening,
Thank
Sharon.
you. Good evening. Thank you so very much. Now, there was one thing that they left off that I am so proud that I am a member and a past president of the Nashville Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta
Uh-oh.
Sigma Beta Sorority Incorporated.
DST, awesome.
Woo.
Well, welcome to the show. You're joined by Lee, who's also in the Divine Nine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know this is my brother. He's my husband's line brother.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So we've
Yes.
known each other a long time.
Yeah, so our roots go deep.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That is fantastic. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'd love to kick off our show by learning a little bit more about you. So tell us your unique story of grit, or stories of grit.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And, because I have 3 children and 3 grandchildren, I had 3 sisters and 3 brothers.
Oh, wow.
So I will tell you, and then, of course, I love the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the thing of it is that I want to tell 3 short stories, if I may.
Okay.
So I was on a job that I served for over 20 years that I was fired from. I thought I was going to be at that job forever. And I was fired for no reason at all. It was basically political for them to have someone else come in and take the job. And I thought when I first got the job that it was the best thing that had ever happened to me because I was actually director of admissions and records of a, institution of higher education. And I just could not believe it because when I came to Tennessee State University, my biggest dream was to be somebody's executive secretary, right?
Wow.
And I came on this job and I was able to ascend to be the director of admissions. Oh my God, it was the best thing that ever happened. But then I got fired and I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened. But since leaving that job and everything that has happened since that time, it was absolutely the best thing because I was able to learn who I am. And the one thing that I learned most is that you can't serve but one God. And in that, it gave me everything that I needed. Success and failures are imposters. And you just have to roll with it and trust in God in that. But that's the one thing that I want people to know, that I have come up from all of those things that I thought was going to take me completely out. So we must never, never, ever, ever give up. That's
Yeah,
the first thing that I would say in terms of a woman with grit. In the second thing is, while I was in the job, before I got to be director of admissions, I served as the overseer of the dissertation and thesis of students who were graduating from college, from this institution of higher learning. And one young lady had a postdoc, and she needed her dissertation proofread so she could graduate. And it happened on August 18th, 1988, because that's the birth date of my youngest daughter, because I proofread the dissertation in labor and delivery.
wow.
Absolutely. In the hospital across from where I worked.
Oh,
I,
wow.
I did. And that took some doing
Right.
through the pain,
To say the
contraction,
least.
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And the third thing I want to tell you that was interesting, because this happened right after well, not right after, but months after I lost my job, because it took me 2 years to find another job. And
Mm,
even that job paid me half the money that I was making. But your girl, Lee, drove
hmm
a car drove a car without reverse for an entire year.
Oh, all you could do is pull in and pull out, or you roll back. How'd you?
Well, people say, "Oh, you can back up." Don't worry about it. I got it. I got it. I'm gonna just pull it right over here, and I always do. But here's the deal: it was one thing that made me always look forward, keep
Uh,
moving forward, never
there you
ever
go.
looking back. Right?
There you go.
And so all of those things taught me and helped me realize that I was a true woman with grit.
Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm. That takes a
And
whole.
there's so many other things that I can tell you, because I've, run nonprofits. You know how women can do things with nothing and we make something out of it. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
For
Hmm.
sure. And we'll probably get into some of the other things that you've done career wise. Now you're not from Nashville originally.
No, I'm originally from Memphis. I'm the youngest of seven, but I'm the one that handled all of my parents' business, took
Hmm.
care of everything. I'm the go-to.
Hmm.
Okay.
Um, and I've had three of my siblings to pass,
Okay.
and I have three that are still living,
Okay.
and both
Wonderful.
of my
Mm-hmm. So we will.
parents are parents. He graduated from high school when I was 3 years old, and
Hmm.
as I said, I'm the youngest of seven kids.
Wow.
So I had kids who my siblings as old as 18 years old when my mother graduated with a high school diploma. But she became an insurance agent, a real estate broker.
Hmm.
She ran her own satellite post office for the United States Postal Service.
Oh wow.
She had her own office. She did taxes, was a notary public, and she also fixed hair on the side.
Oh
So
wow.
she always told me that you got to act like a lady, think like a man, and work like a dog. And
Uh
she
oh. So now we know where
Wow.
you get your work ethic from.
That's right. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
work all the time, and but she also instills some very valuable uh, um, things in me that I know would never, I would never be separated from the values that she taught me as a child. Having
Mm,
compassion for individuals and taking care of others, and spending time with the older individuals, because that's where our wisdom lie.
right.
And I did that. So she was just amazing. And just incredibly brilliant woman.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So we won't talk about the the place that fired you, they're so far back, and you don't have reverse.
That's
Okay.
right.
We won't go
That's right.
backwards. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but I do want to talk about something that's kind of ongoing. So
yeah.
last week we interviewed a woman in Atlanta, and she kind of has taken over like the Auburn Street redevelopment with her nonprofit and everything.
Was George Shepard?
Say it
Was
again.
it George Shepard?
No,
No.
uh-uh.
Okay, because I know George Shepard. That's where I first learned about doing what it was. I went to Atlanta for a conference, and
Mhm.
George Shepard was the one that created and started that movement for Sweet Auburn.
Okay,
Interesting.
yeah.
Sinead
It's,
Joseph.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Sherelle.
I was saying it was Sinead Joseph.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's running a CDC now that is managing that. Um,
Right.
so so we talk about so that's Sweet Auburn Street in Atlanta, Georgia, but there's in Nashville, there's Jefferson Street. So talk about what you've done for that particular community, and maybe give us an idea of some of the things it took for you to. Well, first of all, why you did it. Again, you're from Memphis. Went to Tennessee State. You didn't. It wasn't like your dream job when you were a kid, but it's something that you did, and by all accounts, very successful at. But maybe give us an
Right.
outlook on that.
Right. First of all, let me just say that when I came to Nashville, I was just incredibly impressed because Memphis is a blue collar city, and most of the people there were hardworking. All of the families, the fathers worked in manufacturing. They were labor workers, and it was. Um, and that's what we knew. We knew to use our bodies from the neck down. But I
Mm,
came to Tennessee State and saw Jefferson Street, Meharry Medical College, Fisk University, American Baptist College, and all of these professional people who looked like me. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It gave me hope that I had never, ever seen or realized that I could have. Now, I have to say that when I was in the sixth grade, I lived in Compton, California with my uncle for about a year, and I saw things there in California, but of course, I still didn't have the idea that I could accomplish and be and do those things. But when I became a college student and was around this type of professionalism every day, it became a reality that I could be anything that I wanted to be and do anything I wanted to do. So, looking at all of these businesses that were owned by Black people, we had bakeries and stores, a Black bank that was right there at our fingertips with Citizens Bank, and it had been around since 1904. And I know that Memphis had Tri State Bank, which is still around as well. But all of this was in our community. It was, I could walk from Tennessee State University to Citizens Bank, went to Sweat's restaurant, able all of these things right here in the community. So it gave me a different outlook. And after leaving the job that I had some appreciation for being a Black woman. Fisk University had Arna Bontemps and John on DB Todd. In fact, Dr. DB Todd was the surgeon and the family physician for the Tennessee State Infirmary. So I was just like, man, these people here are touchable and they're right here for me.
mm,
And after embracing this and seeing it, and I was able to now come and serve an organization to help support and unite these businesses and build a community. I found it just astonishing that I would be gifted with such an opportunity, and I wanted to make everything out of it that I possibly could. I actually, at that time, I lived in Bellevue, but I worked in North Nashville. So I
mhm,
saw the difference in the balances of what was available to the people in the Bellevue community and what was available to those in the Jefferson Street community. And everyone thought that Jefferson Street was not safe. And they were warned not to come to the area, and they just felt that it was going to be bad. And I'm like, this is a historic community, and we need to promote the wonderful and beautiful things that were happening. So I went to the Tennessean and said, listen, do you know that the first black mechanic for Volvo has a shop on Jefferson Street? And his name was Herbert Hunter. He had to go to Texas and get trained by Volvo, and he came back to Nashville, started working on cars for other Volvo dealerships, and then he was able to open up his own business. So I started changing the narrative about Jefferson Street because I believed in the Black excellence, because I saw things here in Nashville that I didn't see in Memphis. I
Mm.
learned here in Nashville that I could use my body from the neck up as opposed to from the neck down and
Wow.
make a difference. So it was those kinds of things that inspired me to do things. When I said, people don't want to come to Jefferson Street, so I said, well, let me have a party and maybe they'll come. And I created the Jefferson Street Jazz and Blues Festival because I knew
Mm.
that people would come out for TSU's homecoming.
Mhm.
And I knew in Memphis, if we shut down the street and had a party, that was the first place I saw BB King.
Mm.
So I said, try it here and see what happens. And that's been 23 years ago. And we got our 23rd Jefferson Street Jazz and Blues Festival coming up on July 22nd of this year. And
Okay.
that festival went from as little as 1,500 people to over 30,000 in attendance.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's a big deal.
Mm.
And all of that was to just showcase the businesses that we had on Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
Hmm.
People love Mary's Barbecue, and Ed's Fish is a little bit far away. Sweats may be away, but just celebrating those black businesses and elevating them to a level so they could bring people, and it would inspire people to come and support and showcase the goods and services that they had.
I love that. So, what would you say inspires you to have the passion for the community in Nashville?
Well, as I said, my mother taught me that.
Yeah.
She took care of the community. Her office was on a in a strip mall, and
Hmm.
behind there was a row of bungalow houses, and you could tell that the people there were destitute and poor. They didn't have air conditioning and heating and all of those things, and the kids would walk back and forth to school and home. And one day my mother brought one of the little girls home, and she bought her some new clothes, gave her a warm bath, fed her, washed and fixed her hair, and she gave that little girl hope. And it was then that I also learned that I needed to take care of people and have compassion for people. There was a gentleman, an older gentleman that was there that used to hang around her office. And he would always come and ask my mother for some money so he could buy him some liquor. And she would give it to him because that was the only thing he had. And so one day I come home from school, and Mr. Johnson, we called him Pimp because my mother said he pimp her because he always got her money, and he was at home and living in our house. So she always helped those who needed help. And
Mm.
that is what got me to making sure I took care of my community. And I can also tell you that Dr. David Satcher at Meharry Medical College always talked about supporting Black businesses. And
Hmm.
he always, you know, would do it. He went to the Jefferson Street Cleaners and took his shirts, and he would share those things. And I emulated the things that he did. So anytime we had a type of event, I went to the Jefferson Street Bakery. I would always try to support the Black businesses. So I think just a number of experiences occurred. And when I was in California, I was there right after the Watts riot.
Hmm.
So I saw a lot of things that were occurring there, um, where we were, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. But coming from the South, where they thought that the lighter skinned people were better. And when I got to California, and they loved black people with afros, and
Hmm.
that gave me a new life, for me to appreciate the melanin in my skin. Just like this beautiful Charelle that I'm looking at, Lee, you know, it
Hmm.
it it just gives me joy to see us come up in spite of when people try to keep us down. And it just inspires me to lift that black excellence in everything that I do.
Yes, and you certainly do. And so, as you think about inspiring others, and even I think about your races as council at large. Talk about how what's been instilled with you into you by your um, whether it's your mom, the environment, community you've been around. How is that manifested in the rate in your races when you run for office? Because you tend not to have to raise the most money to win. And as mentioned earlier, in your last election, you had the most votes out of any of the candidates. But maybe give us an idea of one, why you run for office, and then two, why you think you've been successful in your runs. Because you're not a career politician.
No, I'm not. But I am a career public servant. And when I worked for Jump, the things that I realized at that place is that I could not serve the businesses without serving the community, because retail follows resident.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that I saw happening in the community, there were so many disparities, whether it was the lack of resources for the businesses, or the inability for people to own their own homes, or when I saw the differences in the health and accessibility to healthcare, because I served on a board with Matthew Walker, which is a comprehensive care center, and saw that. It was a community advisory board. And some of the things that I saw is that 37208 had the highest number in hypertension, had the highest number in diabetes. So we were the sickest. We had smoking was a problem. And so we started doing those types of things, trying to address it to make the community a healthier community and better. And I just was always drawn to those things where there were large disparities. And from that, and as I said, I'm working in North Nashville on Jefferson Street, but I'm living in Bellevue, and I'm seeing some of the things that they're doing. They have cleanups. They do recycling. They have bulk cleanups where they bring old electrics. They have electronics and pills, old medicines, people shredding their old papers in the homes, just doing a lot of things in a way that I had not seen, honestly. They were engaged in arts activities and coming before the Arts Commission. And of course, I found out about the Arts Commission because of the Jazz and Blues Festival. And my first appearance at the council, I went to speak on behalf of Metro Arts. So I started getting involved in those organizations that were not only black organizations. I started going to the white organization meetings. Became a member of the Association of Nonprofit Executives, which was also associated with the Center for Nonprofit Management. I became a member of the Bellevue Exchange Club. And just getting involved and getting in and around those things. And because of the work that I was doing, I was able to build relationships. As a result, I got in the class of Leadership Nashville, and that just blew my mind because I remember that I would set aside Thursdays for my boss when I worked for one of my bosses at the school that I worked for. And then here I was accepted to be a member of that class. 2004, the best class they had, wasn't it, Lee?
Best class ever, for sure.
He was in the class also. And
Yes.
then Lee brought me into the downtown Rotary. I joined the Nashville Women's Breakfast Club and just started building those relationships and asking those individuals to become a part of the Jefferson Street movement that I was making. And I asked them to give me money, support what we were doing financially. And all of those things helped me propelled me to become a council member because I saw that the things I was trying to do, I had to be in association with those who were making policies. And once those things got done, and there was a clean slate of council members at large, and there were five, I said, maybe I should do this and try to do it because I built all of these relationships, very much involved in Bellevue, very much involved in North Nashville, and I don't know why. So I decided to run. And I can tell you, I went to Delta Days on Capitol Hill and saw when Loretta Lynch was being confirmed, and that really, truly inspired me and seeing all of these women in red. So knowing that being able to go into public service work and then to get things done, you have to become a policymaker. And then after seeing that, realizing if you really want to make change, then you've got to be the leader. They are the
Mm.
ones that make it happen. The mayor, the president, all of those other positions are supportive of the leader. So it is time for Nashville to have true leadership in the Black community. So all of those things have inspired me to move forward. I know I said a lot of things to get to that point, but it is still time for Black excellence to rise. The culture has changed, but the politics have not. And now it's time for that change to come.
Well, that's phenomenal. I know we are, believe it or not, uh, we're halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through.
Hmm.
So we're going to give you a quick break, just maybe a minute or two, so you can get some water. Charelle and I chat for a minute, and then we'll bring you back in, and we'll talk a little bit more about your run for mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing to think about just as we come back on is what do you feel is the top issue or one of the top pressing issues that you would want to address? But we'll
Okay.
bring you back up with that.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. What an engaging conversation.
Woo.
I mean, I feel
Yeah.
really enlightened about Jefferson Street, as much time as I've
Mhm.
spent there. Wasn't
Yes.
aware.
Yes.
I
Yep.
am going to want to give me some water real quick, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hit your mute button too.
That's all right. What an engaging conversation. I am just super excited to have, Sharon on and to talk about the nature of building the community there in
Hmm.
Nashville. And that's been home for you for a while, Lee. So how does it feel sharing the stage and kind of walking down Memory Street, if you will?
Yeah, I think as I think of when Jump started and Sharon became the leader over there, it definitely became much more visible. As a transplant, if you will, to Nashville from Detroit, then to North Carolina, and in Durham, where I went to school, we had the Hayti district. And what I learned while I was in school was that the federal government and local governments kind of teamed up together, and they called it urban renewal, but it was actually urban removal. And they ran these interstates through predominantly black business districts. And as you think in terms of what was destroyed versus had it been left intact, what it could have been. You know, um, it's a travesty because you lost opportunities to build generational businesses and generational wealth, and you lost opportunities to have really good communities and by gutting them and taking the economic factors out, you leave those communities to struggle, and the people in those communities to struggle. They don't have jobs that they can walk to or catch the bus to. They don't, the kids don't have business owners that they can look up to and feel like they can be like them. It's so much that you take out of when you take the soul out of these communities. It's a travesty. And then, so when I moved to Nashville, I grew up in Detroit, so I didn't see a lot of this stuff. But then I moved to Nashville, and I would go up and down Jefferson Street. I was like, man, this is like nothing really here. It's like desolate. I mean, you had the roasted chicken on the corner, and I remember North Side, I think Auto Supply. I remember some of the businesses, and that was cool. And my brother who was a student at Meharry at the time, we had a house over on Buchanan, which is the Buchanan Arts District now, but it wasn't the Arts District back then. And so, but I learned more and more about the urban removal that happened in Nashville and on Jefferson Street, and it just explained a lot to me in terms of why our communities keep seeming like they're behind. But it wasn't our desire, and it wasn't our choice. And the people that made the decisions did it to preserve their communities because they didn't really care about ours, or ours were disposable. And so that was, again, I use the term, it was a travesty, and it was. And so when Sharon and Jump came about, the Jefferson United Merchants Partnership, when that came about, it was about revitalizing Jefferson Street. And I think she did a phenomenal job with the limited resources that the city really allocated to this. And so I'm sure when we talk to her about why she's running for mayor and some of the things she wants to do, we'll get a chance to dig into that. You're on mute.
It's really fundamental and foundational to hear, just the space of the evolution even of Jefferson Street, but not only specific to Nashville, but in so many other communities, the same thing happens, yes, unfortunately. So then the context of the conversation becomes, like she said, how do we write policies in such a way that depletion doesn't happen, but that there is a space for generational wealth to occur, and not only occur, but be sustained within the community. So love the conversation. All right, so with that said, let's bring Sharon back up, learn a little bit more about her, why she is running for mayor. So welcome back, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Charelle, and thank you, Lee. I kind of overheard some of the things that you said, Lee. And yes, it is Buchanan Arts District, but back then it was Buchanan.
Right. And from Detroit, I never really figured out the Buchanan. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. So.
I know. But that was it.
That's what it was.
Especially then, like Albine, and looking at, and Demombrian, all of those words and names of streets is really interesting. But, I know I started talking and saying a lot of things, but the one thing that I would like to go back and say about Jefferson Street is that I wanted to preserve that community, wanted to preserve the rich history, because back in the day, Jefferson Street was wonderful. Anybody who wanted to be somebody came through Jefferson Street. They had a replica of the Cotton Club here. It was on the Green Book. If you watch the movie, and it talks about it, and Nashville was one of those places where people were on the Green Book. But Jimi Hendrix, Cab Calloway, Duke Ellington, Aretha Franklin, Ike and Tina Turner, all of those people came through Nashville because they wanted to be successful musicians. They came here almost like Apollo. If they got here first, then they knew that they could make it work when they went to New York. And those things is what made it such rich history. Dr. King said that he came to Nashville not to bring inspiration, but to be inspired because of the civil rights movement and the nonviolent way that everything occurred here. And it was similar to what I talked about in terms of how people in Nashville used their bodies from the neck up instead of the neck down, because they were able to negotiate. You had the educators, the professionals, they were all there. So me seeing this rich history and how wonderful this Jefferson Street community was, I wanted to preserve it. it is something special. Even today, you walk out there and you can feel the spirit of Jefferson Street. And I just, talk about Ralph Boston, who, passed a couple weeks ago, who was one of the, gold medal Olympians along with Wilma Rudolph. And we had fantastic football teams and all of those things at Fisk with W.E.B. Du Bois and Fisk Jubilee Singers. And I mentioned James Weldon Johnson, Aaron Douglas, and just so many people that have changed Black lives all across this country and throughout this world. And people talk about Jimi Hendrix and wonder, how did he be in Nashville? And people don't understand or don't realize that the Fort Campbell Army site is just an hour away, and he would come over to Nashville to visit the nightclubs, because we had about 17 nightclubs at one time on Jefferson Street, and that's where he played his music. So I did not want them to come and take away all of that history. But I can tell you, I did my thesis on Hope Gardens, a model transformation from chaos to community, hoping to redevelop the community and not have it gentrified. But I was naive at that time. In retrospect, I realized that I was naive, that it has been a plan all along to come and take this community, because it's a chip shop from downtown, and the land, they don't have anywhere else to go. So they're coming to the communities where we have resided. They didn't want it, and we were the ones there, and they neglected it. And when we made it something, is when then they started to come into our community, that transformation. So those are the things that made me realize that when you are in charge, you determine what happens. And as much as I've tried to share with people not to sell their property, because when you own the land, you determine what happens to it. And we tried to put programs together and maintain the community, but they would not allow us to do it. They did not give us the resources that we needed. So, in order for us to see something different, we've got to be the change that we want to see. So, that's what inspired me to go forth. Me being a public servant for 25 years, I moved from that and decided that I was going to run for office. Have been a council member for almost 8 years, and now seeing, even as a council member, I still can't get things done the way I'd like, because I got 39 other council members that I have to convince to go along with me. But as mayor, this is a mayor driven city and a mayor driven structure, and we can get the things done that we've been spared from having for so many years. It's a tale of two cities, and now it's time for us to come up.
So Sharon, so great commentary. Um, how do you propose then that people, like the voters, understand that it's not you're not just concerned about North Nashville, but you're concerned about entire Nashville and an entire city rising versus one segment of the city. And what are your thoughts there?
So first of all, for me to say about one side and the disparities that I speak of, a rising tide lifts all boats. When Black America does, or Black Nashville do better, so will all Nashville, because that's going to put more economy into, put more dollars into our economy. But the thing of it is that everybody's feeling this squeeze that's going on. It is not affordable for anyone, for the white working class, the Black working class, the low income, all socioeconomic um, demographics are feeling the squeeze of Nashville. I remember you could make $17,000 a year and own a home in Nashville. But now they say that you have to make at least $80,000 in order to afford to live in Nashville. So, what we have felt for so long, white Nashville is also feeling that squeeze. And because I have lived that experience, I know it, I can help navigate through that. We know how to make something out of nothing, and we know how to bring it together. If I had money as a CEO of Jump or Streetworks where I am now, can you imagine how we could have been able to do things? Can you imagine if we really had money, how we could have transformed Jefferson Street? It is being transformed now, but not by us. But if we had access to capital, we could have had a mecca. We could have recreated what Jefferson Street was known in the 50s and made it even better, where we were making more money. And if we making more money in North Nashville, then it helps in East Nashville, West Nashville, and downtown. I give this analogy all the time that, Nashville is based like Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan was going to give us 50, 60 points. And maybe I got to go with Steph Curry or Jason Tatum now because they've been getting their 50 points. But I do look at Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan was the GOAT and everybody loved him. Got his points, but he never got a championship until he got Scottie Pippen in the game. Scottie Pippen is North Nashville. Dennis
Mm,
Rodman is East Nashville.
mm,
Tony Kukoc, South Nashville.
mm.
And Steve Kerr gonna stand in the corner and drop the threes all day long in West Nashville. And they did not win a championship till all of them got in the game. You get everybody in the game and you win championships 6 times over. And that's what I think Nashville has missed. But because there has been such a disparity that they've only focused on downtown, but we've got to get all the players in the game. And that's how we bring Nashville to be that national city and trailblazing city that we know that it was meant to be.
Well said. Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing that. I mean, it's just so phenomenal. And believe it or not, we're winding down on time. And I want to make sure that we get an opportunity for you to share any thoughts and wisdom that you have that you would like to with our guests. But before we do, I want to make sure that we answer any questions from our audience. So again, if you're tuning in, feel free to leave your questions in the chat for Sharon so that we can address you appropriately as well as address those questions. So we have a question from Sharonda Scott, and she says she would like to ask you what changes you would like to make in Nashville.
Well, of course, everyone is talking about affordable housing and transportation and crime. And those are the things that are really, really important. But the one thing that I want to have done is economic empowerment for all Nashvillians. Because if we have more money into our economy, we will build the economy over and over and over again. Because we know that people say that that money is the root of all evil. I believe that it's the lack of money that's the root of all evil. One of the reasons why people are concerned about the development, and I think we should have smart development, but development drives our revenue. That's how you have a sustaining city, when you are able to have some development. What we have failed to do is to make all Nashvillians benefit from this growth, the phenomenal growth that we have. And we've got to make sure that we spread the wealth on every block and every corner. And my intent is to make sure that we not have one block, one person, one community forgotten as as this mayor, because that's where I think the city has failed us. I also want to make sure that we have good public education. And what I plan to do is have a mayoral literacy initiative. We're going to make sure that our first grade kids are all reading on their level. When they are 4, 5, 6 years old, that's when our kids learn to read. 7, 8, 9 is when they read to learn. And we miss the mark because by the third grade, so many of our kids are not reading on their grade level, and that's why they have outlined a pipeline to prison. I want to change that and give them a pipeline to prosperity. And we're going to start that by making sure that every first grader is reading on their grade level. Because when they do that and they get that hope, and we restore that family and that hope in them, they will love to learn and they will move forward and find the dreams that they want. When I came to Nashville, just like the musicians and the songwriters become successful in this city. I want every person to continue to have that hope and know that their dreams can come true in this city.
Thank you for that. Cheryl, any other questions?
Yes, we do have another question by Crystal Hicks, and she said, "Any changes or plans in the area of education?" Which you kind of alluded to that just a minute ago.
Absolutely. As I said, and Crystal Hicks has been an inspiration for me because she has first grade kids and we see them, and there was one of kids that I saw there, and the little girl was talking about what she wanted to do when she was older, and she said she wanted to work at McDonald's because that's where her mother worked. And I told her, I said, baby, do you know that you can own your own McDonald's? You don't have to work there. You can have people working for you at your own McDonald's. And she was like, for real? I said, absolutely. And we're going to make that happen for you. So I think that when we instill in them and show them that they can have more and do more, we most certainly will. I actually have been talking to some educators to ensure that we are going to have a robust educational plan moving forward. But the one thing I want to do is start with these kids early and get them on a trajectory of success, starting with the first graders. If we can start teaching them how to play football and basketball, we can teach them about engineering, we can teach them STEM, we can teach them how to read and give them all of that. I was at a Nashville Tech Council meeting yesterday, and I told them that I needed them to come to this first grade and make sure that they teach, because everything is about technology now. So we're going to infuse all of that into our educational system, as well as teaching them about money. So they'll learn very early about financial literacy. All of those are things that I would really love to do as mayor.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we are definitely winding down in terms of time. We want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to share any final thoughts or nuggets with our guests as it relates to being a woman with grit, your story, anything that you would like to share.
Yes, I would really like the people to know that I am a results oriented, action driven leader of leaders. I have the courage that it takes to go in there and fight when I need to fight, but I got a tender heart to love when I need to love. And they can depend on me to go in and fight their issues, and the issues matter to me, not necessarily that it's all about the race. I do see the disparities, and I want to change that.
All right, looks like we have lost Sharon, but maybe she'll jump back in. Either way, this has been an enlightening conversation. What do you think, Lee?
It certainly has been. I think people can could learn a lot from her and her story of grit, and just and I have a better understanding, even personally, and having known her for many years, a
Mm-hmm.
better understanding of where that grit comes from, as she talks about her mom and what her mom was able to do. So that's
Mm-hmm.
truly a woman of grit from there.
That's
Um, yeah. So and I just got a text from her I think she got disconnected.
That is
Uh, but she
okay.
got, yeah. So
Well, no worries at all. I'll give the recap, and I know we're getting ready to kind of wind down anyway. I'm sure that we'll get any information. So if you guys want to reach out to Sharon, we'll be sure to get her information and put it in the chat function immediately following our time together. But just, I want to go ahead and recap on some of the key things that Sharon kind of spoke to, or some of the things that she alluded to. Anything before I do the recap, Lee?
no, hey, thank you everyone. Crystal Hicks, Blue Ribbon teacher, teacher of the year for Metro. She over at Churchwell Museum Magnet School. She organizes every year a Read Me Week, and you see the mayor, the vice mayor, council members, judges, attorneys, everybody that's anybody that's doing anything. She has them coming through her school and showing her kids that we ain't all that special. So they can do all the stuff that we do. So we really greatly appreciate you, Crystal, for joining. Her husband Henry is the CEO of the National Museum of African American Music. We got to get Crystal on the show one day. And Sharonda, thank you for joining, and all others, thank you for joining. And make sure you share this with all your friends and your entire network.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. We're always excited to be able to bring our guests on. So, Crystal, you've been nudged and tagged. We'll reach out to you immediately following the show to see about having you on and giving you a space to share your story as well. So, I want to do a quick recap of some of the key points that Sharon talked about tonight before we close out. One, she talked about successes and failures are imposters, right? So, know the nature of the space that you exist in and continue to move in that. Keep moving forward. She talked about how she drove for 2 years without reverse, as it indicated that you must keep moving forward and continue to push forward. Have compassion for others. Take care of our elderly, because that is where our wisdom lies. You can be anything you want to be and do what you want to do. All you have to do is decide. So have the confidence and the boldness to decide how you want to make a dent in the earth and how you choose to show up. Take care of people, have compassion, help those that need help, continue to support Black business, right? Rise in spite of the strife, rise in spite of the challenges or the circumstances that may exist. She also talked about how retail follows its residences, and you cannot serve the businesses without first serving the community. Build your network by building those relationships, and recognize that it is so important to preserve the community as opposed to depleting it. Be inspired to use your body from the neck up, meaning utilize your mind. Tap into the resources that you have above your neck. When you are in charge, recognize that you can determine what happens. So keep ownership, you talked about, of your residencies, and even being able to understand that on the other side of that is with great power comes great responsibility, right? Know that, and she gave a great analogy when she said that as a rising tide lifts all boats, all will rise, right? So we want to make sure that when we continue to move and as we continue to inspire and have impact, that our actions touch and can inspire all as well. Make something out of nothing wherever necessary, and we have to continue to create ways of access to capital. Get everyone in the game so that you can win the championship. So she talked about the nature of one issue doesn't affect just one. In the analogy or the example she gave was just the space of Nashville, and how, one area that is, under siege, under fire, or kind of dealing with disparities affects another. But the way to win is to tackle them all. Economic empowerment for all is what she is about. Being able to spread the wealth, and of course to instill in our children that they can do anything that they want to, as long as they put their mind to it. And lastly, to start with children, start early, and enable them with the tools and resources that they need to succeed. What an inspiring and an enlightening time tonight on Women with Grit. Looking forward to next week. So as we normally would do, we simply say thank you. Feel free to hit the like and chat. Go ahead and share this with your friends, constituents, anyone that you feel would benefit from the value of Sharon's story. And otherwise, we'll bid you a good night.
And we will see you next week on Women with Grit, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 Eastern, and YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Women with Grit. Our Facebook Live or Facebook page is Women with Grit, or you can go to our website, www.womenwithgrit.com. And we just look forward to seeing you. If you have somebody that you recommend that we talk to, feel free to shoot us their name on Messenger, and we will look to see if we can schedule them. Thank you, and everyone have an amazing week.
Good night.